Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for bearing with us. All righty. Adequate notice of the May the 10th, 2012 meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting written notice and agenda of the meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building, 1000 Route 10, Whippany, Township of Hanover, and by hand delivering and mailing and faxing such notice and agenda to the following newspapers: the Hanover Eagle, Morris County's Daily Record, and the Star Ledger, and by filing same with the Township Clerk. We have a roll call.
On roll call, Committeeman Schleifer.
Here.
Committeeman Ferramosky.
Here.
Committeeman Bruno.
Here.
Committeeman Capola.
Here.
And Mayor Francioli.
Here.
5 members in attendance, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Would you all please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. Okay, we have Poppy Month on us already, huh?
Right. Yeah.
How's it going? Got a proclamation for that?
We have 2...
Do we have a representative from the...
I don't believe we have a representative.
The Joint Alliances, or no, to accept it? Well, then George is going to be our official acceptor.
Okay. Well, I guess...
Is that the word, acceptor?
Yeah, acceptor.
Okay.
I guess in the interest of brevity, we'll just say there are resolutions of the Township Committee recognizing the bravery and heroism of all veterans, living and deceased, who have made the ultimate sacrifice in serving their nation with pride and dignity, and further designating May 1st through May 31st as the month during which the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars distribute poppies in Hanover Township. May we have motion on approval?
So moved.
So moved by Mr.
Second.
Francioli, seconded by Mr. Capola. On roll call, Mr. Schleifer.
Aye.
Mr. Ferramosky.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
And Mayor, I'll turn these over to Mr. Capola.
That's fine, thank you. George, you'll present those to the both of our veterans firms, Legion and VFW. Very nice. And we'll expect red poppies in return.
Oh, yes.
You're going to collect.
have to give me a buck each.
All right, that's no problem. We'll give you $1 each, Ron. Everybody get $1.
We'll ante up.
Oh, well, we'll ante up after the meeting.
Ante up. You got it. Okay. All right, gentlemen, at this time I'd like a motion to open the meeting to the public.
So moved.
Items not
Second.
appearing on the agenda. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open. Anyone who would like to address the Township Committee at this time can do so from the podium, giving us your name and address for the record. How you doing, Gary?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Gary Kaiser, 16 Lynn Terrace, Whippany, New Jersey. A lifelong resident of Hanover Township. 60 years. Didn't want to say that, but I figured I'd tell you anyway. Still an active member of the Sierra Hills Fire Department First Aid Squad, and I was on the Board of Fire Commissioners for 30 years, 10 terms, and my term expired March 6th, 2012, and I did not re-seek election. What made me join the organization a while back is that I had a brother get killed in a car accident on Millipartis Road. And at that time, I wondered if he ever got the right service, the right care through the First Aid Squad in Hanover Township. So when I first joined the Fire Department First Aid Squad, I was 100% EMS. I did all EMS. I did very little fire. I was EMS. Went to school. The EMT training program through the state of New Jersey just started coming in to play around 70, 71. I was one of the first EMTs with a few other members of the fire department, went to schooling. And then they made me, I became captain of the First Aid Squad. And at that point in time, while all this change was coming on, I had a meeting, I said, this EMT program is going to be the future for the state, so if we want to continue the service, this is what we have to do. Back then, we had standard first aid, CPR, minor things. When I introduced this, and I said it a few times, a lot of the elder members were upset. Of course, it's change. We're going to have change. We don't want change. Take me out back, give me 20 lashes, and come back. We'll talk about it again, right? So, okay. The EMT program did take off.
Been there, seen that.
Okay. But that change created another problem. The ones that used to ride the ambulance they weren't going to ride anymore. They didn't want to take the training. So how are we going to accomplish this? Okay, we're going to accomplish this. We're going to open it up to the residents of Fire District 3. Anyone that just wants to join the first aid squad can join the first aid squad. Sounds good, right? Well, it didn't work that good. So I came back and I said, okay, this is what we're going to have to do. Open it up for all residents of Hanover Township, male and female. Well, if you thought 20 lashes was a lot, 50 is a hell of a lot more. Okay, and that's the way we operate today. It's all Hanover Township. We have members, volunteer members, male and female, and it's a good organization. So that's how the whole thing gets started. Why do I say this? Okay, I think you know where I'm headed with this.
I think so.
Okay, consolidation of the fire districts. Okay. Back in September 2011, at the Fire Prevention Bureau, which consists of Hanover Township Fire District, Commissioners of District 3 and District 2, it was decided to hire Kramer Associates to do a feasibility study of the consolidation of the 2 fire districts in Hanover Township. And at that meeting, everyone at that meeting was in favor. Then on February 29th of this year, his final report was submitted to the fire districts, and his findings were in his report was in favor to have 1 district. At the Fire Prevention Bureau meeting of March 22, 2012, the 2 boards discussed the findings with the public in attendance. It was decided to make the study public after a few corrections to the report and put it on the township's website. And at a follow-up meeting, when Mr. Kramer was available to attend a meeting, and that meeting was held on May 1st at Memorial Junior School, and it was very well attended. The fire districts were created back in the early 1920s with the geographic boundaries of Title 40A 1481 states the responsibilities are for the Board of Fire Commissioners. We're all governed by a New Jersey state statute. I agree with the report that be 1 fire district that provide better allocation of the existing fire and EMS services and personnel, and will serve the taxpayers better. The 2 fire districts are faced with financial constraints which can be eased through the consolidation, thus eliminating the duplication which now exists. 1 taxing district, 1 board to oversee the operations of the township and fire and EMS services. Introducing this change of this magnitude will require a great deal of work for a new Board of Fire Commissioners. While this consolidation report is being debated, I feel that the fire departments, boards, in good faith, should put their plans to build a new firehouse, renovating the firehouse, or whatever, on hold, because you're talking $7 million between the 2 fire districts of building a firehouse and renovations. Unfortunately, this isn't happening. At the meeting of May 1st, it was stated by the Whippany Fire Companies they were told by the Commissioners of Fire District 2 to proceed with a new firehouse and are looking to purchase property on Troy Hills Road for a new firehouse. I asked the Commissioners of District 2 and the Whippany Fire Company about their financial planning of the new firehouses and property. They said they didn't have one. So I don't know how they can proceed if they don't have a procedure to do it. The other question is, there are 3 members of the Board of Fire Commissioners in District 2 that are members of the Whippany Fire Company. Is this a conflict of interest? I don't know. But yes, they're members, the board's telling the Whippany Fire Company to proceed. I don't know if there's a conflict there or not. It was stated that no tax dollars would be used to build a new firehouse, but Fire District's 2 budget shows $580,000 for a new firehouse and a sale of an existing building, which the Commissioners now own. They're going to sell it for $330,000. That was put in their 2012 budget. Will that money be used for a firehouse? If it is, that's $910,000 of taxpayers' money. The Commissioners of Fire District 2 pay $35,000 a year in rent to house the apparatus and use the offices in the Whippany Fire Company. The commissioners pay $35,000 a year. Will that rent go up to maybe $100,000, $150,000? Will the taxpayers be faced with a mortgage on this new firehouse? I don't know. I do feel that township needs to get involved while the report is being debated, so there's no wasted of tax dollars, and make sure that everything is ethical and members are truthful and open-minded. The next meeting of the two boards will be June 14th at the Cedar Knolls Firehouse. And to my knowledge, there's no subcommittees in place about the questions for March 22 or May 1st meeting. No one's talking. Title 40A's 7491 states what needs to be accomplished to dissolve the fire districts, and 48-1470 states what's needed to accomplish to create a fire district. This is all through petition. You need approximately 400 signatures on District 2 and 100 signatures in District 3, and unfortunately, the township gets those petitions and pick up the ball and see what they want to do with that. Unless the township wants to pick up all the services. I don't think you want to do that. But I feel that the township needs to, and the commissioners need to review this merger as the township does with their master plan. You always want a master plan for what's best for the residents. I don't think anyone ever sat down for a master plan for the fire EMS services, except this one report that was done by Mr. Kramer last year. And I believe Whippany had another report done in 2004 by Mr. Dr. Harry Carter, had a report done for District 2. But there are people that are afraid to upset other people. I see this. General Colin Powell had a great statement. I would like to read that. Some of you probably already know it already. Good leadership involves responsibility to the welfare of a group, which means that some people will get angry at your actions and decisions. It's inevitable that you're honorable. Trying to get everyone to like you is a sign of mediocrity. You will avoid the tough decisions, you will avoid confronting the people who need to be confronted, and you avoid offering differential awards based on differential performances because some people might get upset. Ironically, by procrastinating on difficult choices, by trying to get anyone mad, and by treating everyone nicely, regardless of their contribution, you simply ensure that the only people you wind up angering are the most creative and productive people in an organization. How true is that? I know the fire services, Whippany and Cedar Knolls, has been around for a long time. This conversation about merging, getting together, has been going on for 24 years. 24 years. Started in 1988. Here it is, 2012. I think Mr. Kramer's report is looking 10 years from now in the future of one firehouse. I personally think Whippany can use another firehouse on this side of Route 10. I personally think that they would need something there, but I also feel that one general firehouse on Jefferson Road could be built, more of a bigger firehouse, because if this plan went through and there's a new board that went into effect and they go through this whole report and everything else, the Cedar Knolls Firehouse would probably be gone, sold, and that money is to offset any costs for a bigger firehouse. I understand it's a tough subject. I love the volunteers. We have a lot of elderly men still coming around. They have a hard time grasping with this, but for the best future of the township and fire EMS services, this report needs to be reviewed by all. I don't know if everyone read it, and we need to move on forward. We can't sit back on this. We've been doing it too long, sitting back. I think the township, the boards, whoever, sit down and really need to move this forward. That's all I'm saying. I thank you for hearing me tonight.
Gary, let me ask you a question. at that meeting, obviously, some of the residents were a little annoyed about it, and they said they're giving you 3 months to decide what you're gonna do. Does that fall in line with that June 14th date? So, you know, 3
No,
months
the
from
meeting
now,
was May.
You know, they said this
Well,
in May, June,
I am
July.
going to get a petition out. But I
But
want
they
these
said
guys
they-
to, and obviously, this 12 weeks has gone by. They only had 2 meetings. Nothing, but Cedar Knolls is saying, yeah, move forward. Okay, we'll move forward.
But I was on the
But someone
impression,
needs to move
by
this on.
August 1st, they were looking for a response, the residents were looking for, from what was stated at that meeting. They said they give you 3 months to make up your mind, or else they said, quote, "We'll decide for you."
See what happens, George. I don't know.
I know that if there was to be a referendum, as we've done in the past with the library and also the open space tax, the deadline for submission of a referendum question to the county would be sometime in mid-August.
Yeah, because I looked, I heard that before, a referendum. I heard, and I did some studying on this. And would a referendum be to ask the residents to just move forward?
If I
Because
recall,
technically, in order to get it accomplished, there has to be a decision, because it was created by the township committee.
If I understand correctly, and Fred Samrat can correct me, if there were a petition, that's why I raised the issue.
Yes,
If there were a petition, it would be submitted to me as the township clerk.
that's correct.
We would then have to certify whether or not you have the required number of registered voters. And then, I believe, it would be a question that would be submitted to the county clerk to be placed on the ballot. Am I correct, Fred? Is that
That would be
basically
correct.
it?
You're non-binding?
It would probably have to be non-binding.
Right, I would agree with you, yes.
Non-binding, okay.
Yeah, it's usually
Okay.
a non-binding referendum.
To see how the residents feel on it. If that's what you would do to see how everyone would feel about this.
Exactly, that's what we did with the Whippany Library and also with the open space tax. They were non-binding referendums.
And you need that by when?
I think the deadline is mid-August.
Mid-August for November is what you're saying.
Yeah, I would say the second week of August, because Joe, you would need time to verify everything.
You'd
and
have
get
to
it in.
verify all the signatures.
I'd like to interject something here. And Gary, I know you're working very hard, aggressively, and you have a very defined, strong position on consolidation. And I appreciate that. I think, Gary, you know where I'm going in representing the Township Committee, or I believe I am. I know there are many issues here, and I did read Mr. Kramer's report. In its entirety, it's a very cradle-to-grave, complete report, very aggressive report. I think we both know we've got 2 elected entities here in District 2 and 3. We both know that we've got more than just the one issue of just saying consolidation. There are more pieces to this. We've got economic issues from both areas, District 2 and 3. We've got fire safety issues, which are primary, I believe. Although, comment from the public in general indicated satisfaction with the degree of fire safety that they're getting, which leads one to believe that there may be more leanings toward economic issues, you know, in this matter as well. I don't think we're denying the public any fire safety issues or putting the public in jeopardy. If we were, I think there would be some formal action taken by this body. And there are administrative issues, as have been going on for countless years. I've sat here for countless years. You've sat on the other side of that table for countless years. I think we both agree, you and I, that the best resolution is if both Districts 2 and 3 were able to sit down and remedy the problem amidst themselves in their area. If they wanted assistance in that process combined from the Township Committee, I think I can say that the Township Committee would be supportive of being a part of that, if we were needed, if we were requested, if we were wanted to be a part of that. I would hope that the first step, and having sat through that meeting of May 1st myself, would be for the parties to come together, if only to focus on what it is, what that clearly what that first step is. All right, is that first step better defined language of what's to be accomplished? Is that first step defining economic advantages to the township in doing this? I mean, we both think we know the answers that, well, you know, redundancy. Well, why should one district and the second district be buying like equipment or not, or so forth? We agree on certain things, and I'm saying this in the general, that maybe fire protection, you know, certainly is needed in 2 areas of Hanover Township, not just one firehouse, as Mr. Kramer's proposal proposes. And I think I've heard argument from the fact that we're divided by the Whippany River, that fire protection, you know, from both sides of the town may be something that shouldn't be taken off the board, that should be looked at very closely. And certainly the final question for the commissioners is the administrative question. You know, do you combine both commissioners and they remain all together in elected office as a larger body? You know, or is it a re-elected body? I mean, there are recommendations that are made in the report. I think that's leaping a little far ahead right now. At very least, I would encourage both District 2 and 3 to take the next step, to sit down, to further clarify what primary issues are, and see whether or not that leads them on, you know. I sound like a broken record on this. I go back, God bless Tony Radice. Remember Tony Radice's salami theory, right? You know what it is, okay? And
anyway,
it's a slice at a time, guys.
I know it's a slice at a time, and Cherry Hill, 9 districts.
Yeah.
There's a whole report. I can get you that report if you'd like to read it.
Parsippany's got 6.
And they had 9. They're down to 1.
Yeah.
It was all through done. They had all the commissioners, and they came in, the attorney and the mayor and the commissioners came in, and there was a lot of friction, and they came in, they did it. There's a body of 5, 1 district, Voorhees Township. Voorhees Township was 4 districts. And they worked together. They did work together on that. They had to get a petition, but they did work together. Ended up being 1 district, 1 board of fire commissioners in Voorhees Township. The only fire district around here is Parsippany Troy Hills. They have 6.
Yeah.
Montville Township is 3, and Hanover Township is the 2. There's 566 municipalities in the state of New Jersey, and out of that 566, 90 of those municipalities have fire districts that equal 187. It's mostly Central and South Jersey on your fire districts.
I think, speaking for yours truly, I think in every case, and that you've elaborated too, it works. Whether it's various fire districts, 1 fire district, etc., it works. You know, I think what both you and the fire companies are both trying to do is perfect something, and that's what we're talking about here. I don't think the township is upset with the quality or the level of the fire service that we've got, with the protection that we've got. I think we're very secure in that. Thanks to all the volunteers that are out there. Thanks to the management that we've got. I think there will be greater disparities in the economics of the districts. I have to agree. I think there will be greater expansions in District 3. Probably lesser in District 2, probably lesser in District 3. That can be examined. I mean, that's academic. That can be examined if the commissioners choose to do that, and I would encourage that. So again, I don't have all the answers. I don't think there's a general.
I don't have all the answers.
But I would not. I would hope that both districts 2 and 3 level heads would prevail, they would sit down together and continue to talk. If there, by the way, if the discussions are only to say that this idea of consolidation, we've investigated the report, et cetera, but it's not something that we feel we're ready for or would like to move forward on, well, then that's the answer. But I would hope it would come from them. If any other gentlemen on the dais have a comment on this, I'm happy for them to speak. I'm just trying to, voice my own opinion.
And I agree with the services we have now. It's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you there. And can it be better? Can it be better? That's when they have to look. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to this, but we'll have to see what happens. And I will go back and I'll tell them if they need help, that the township's willing to help them.
If there's a role that we can play with the commissioners, we're happy to do so. We're not anxious to intervene on a process that they as elected officials are involved with.
I just don't want to get lashed anymore.
Gary,
Thank you. I know you had a short agenda tonight, gentlemen. I'm sorry taking up your time.
You were involved in this process from the beginning, correct? With the
Yes.
trying to bring.
Yes, I was.
I guess my question is, what was the thought of expectation or the rationale for wanting to do it in the first place? All right? I mean, there had to be a reason why they was willing to do it and spend $20,000. I'm sure you've had a lot of dialogue on it. What was the outcome they were anticipating? What was it they,
Services. When we called them in, we talked about the crane, we hired them. That was one of the questions, what are we looking for? And we're looking at the services in Hanover Township. Of course, there would be a cost savings. Eventually, there would be a cost savings, but bettering the services for the residents.
Well, I'm sure that there was a broad spectrum of what you were all looking for.
Yeah, we were.
But what was it that they didn't find that didn't allow for immediately coming to some sort of decision? I mean, there appeared to be some areas reservation. I mean, on the whole report. I'm not sure.
On the reservations from the two boards?
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
I think home rule plays a lot into it. Don't forget, they've been around. Some of these guys have been around a long time. It's hard to do. I mean, it's home rule, and you're looking at this. You're looking at this big change, and here something that's different. It's going on like this since the 20s, 80 years.
I kind of figured that home rule would probably have been primary, even in the thought of doing the study in the first place.
It's June 14th. You're going to ask the board that.
Unfortunately, we got the mayor with the big meeting. Yeah.
They have that's their next meeting, June 4th. As a matter of fact, I think they have attorneys coming into that meeting. I think I heard that. They have.
It's recommended.
They have an attorney. His name is Mr. Braslow. He's one of the best attorneys in the state of New Jersey regarding fire districts. The state calls him for interpretations of the law. And the DCA, when they get into a bind, that's the man they call. So I believe he's going to be at that meeting.
Well, needless to say, we will, as a township committee, certainly be watching closely and
That's all I can ask.
hoping that amicable solutions are found within the commissions.
I felt the meeting on May 1st was very well attended.
I think so.
It was very well attended through with the residents and the firemen.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that'd like to be heard at this time? Hearing none. Seeing none? Motion for...
So moved.
Close?
Second.
Okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Administrator?
Thank you. We have the approval of the Township Committee regular meeting of March 8th, 2012, and the Bid Reception Committee meeting of March 27th, 2012. May we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Bruno, second by Mr. Capola. On roll call, Mr. Schleifer.
Aye.
Mr. Firmas.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So approved. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one item of communication from the Board Secretary, Business Administrator of the Hanover Township School District, requesting a drawdown of tax monies in the amount of $772,106. May we have a motion on the request for drawdown of funds?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Schleifer,
Second.
second by Mr. Bruno.
Oh.
On roll call, Mr. Schleifer.
Aye.
Mr. Fermaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Franciulli.
Aye.
So approved. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a continuation of the public hearing on ordinance number 10-12. This is an ordinance, I'm sorry, we don't have it listed, but we have department reports for information, and that is the following reports are available for public inspection. The report from the Chief of Police for the month of April on all activities conducted by the department. We have the Violations Bureau report on the disposition of all summonses by the municipal court. The property maintenance officer has submitted 2 reports as of April 25th and May 9th on the disposition of all property maintenance and zoning activities. We also have the report from the superintendent of the Public Works, Buildings and Grounds, and Park Maintenance Department on all activities conducted by all divisions in the Department of Public Works. And finally, we have the construction official having submitted his report on the issuance of all certificates of occupancy and building permits issued during the month of April. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue with the ordinance, and that is ordinance number 12. This is an ordinance to regulate signs in the public right-of-way and amending Chapter 248 of the Code entitled Streets and Sidewalks by establishing a new Article 6 entitled Signs. For the record, the ordinance and the notice of introduction appeared in full in the April 19th issue of the Daily Record. May we now have a motion to reconvene the public hearing?
Motion to table.
Okay, at this time, we would have to close the public hearing then, because it was open. So may we have that motion first, Mr. Fermaska?
Please.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Fermaska.
Second.
And second by Mr. Franciulli and Mr. Bruno. And this is a motion to close the public hearing. Mr. Schleifer?
Aye.
Mr. Fermaska?
Aye.
Mr. Bruno?
Aye.
Mr. Capola?
Aye.
And Mr. Franciulli.
Aye.
Now, on a motion to table ordinance number 10-12, pending further study, and that also is offered by Mr. Fermaska.
Yes.
And do we have a second? By Mr. Capola.
And what would the date be, Joe, that it would be tabled to?
The next meeting would be May 24th.
May 24th?
Yes, if that's okay with the Township Committee.
Yes.
On motion by Mr. Fermaska and seconded by Mr. Capola, Mr. Schleifer.
Aye.
Mr. Fermaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Franciulli.
Aye.
So approved, and that is carried as a tabled item. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have resolutions as a consent agenda. We have 2 additional resolutions that were reviewed and discussed by the Township Committee in the open public session. They are as follows. A resolution of the Township Committee appointing Joanne McHugh, Grace Hancock, and Dick Hancock to serve as members of the Hanover Township Cultural Arts Committee for terms of office which shall expire on December 31st, 2014, all in accordance with Section 19-5 of Chapter 19 of the Code of the Township entitled Cultural Arts Committee. And the second resolution is a resolution of the Township Committee authorizing the purchase and installation of new software and hardware in upgrading 3 components of the Township's telephone system for the municipal building complex from Black Box Network Services and Avaya in an amount not to exceed $50,000 pursuant to state contract numbers A80802, A-42295, and A-42296, and further authorizing the business administrator as the Township's qualified purchasing agent to issue a purchase order for the purchases and installation. And for the members of the public, we'll just note that these are upgrades needed because the Township's telephone system is 11 years old, and we have to maintain the state of the art of the system. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a telephone system that's working properly.
Want to get rid of those dial-ups, huh?
Right. We did. Are there any questions about any of the resolutions?
It should also be known from a budgetary standpoint that the $50,000 that you just heard has been budgeted earlier in the year in our budget, anticipated on that expense, and that's where that line is being called from.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Hearing none, seeing none, may we have a motion for the approval of the resolutions as a consent agenda? So moved by Mr. Capola.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bruno. On roll call, Mr. Schleifer.
Aye.
Mr. Faramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
And, ladies and gentlemen, the last item on Township Administrator Clerk's agenda is the disposition of funds, the payment of claims in the amount of $8,276,813.15.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Schleifer.
The
Second
daring
by
Mr. Financial
Capola.
Officer there.
Mr. Schleifer.
Aye.
Mr. Faramasca. Mr.
Aye.
Bruno.
Aye.
Pola. And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
I thought maybe we wouldn't.
I saw hesitation.
I was like, choking on the.
Has a deliberate pause.
I think so.
Very large.
But I thank you, sir.
I'll make the check that way.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, that clears the agenda of the Business Administrator Township Clerk, and I thank you.
Joseph, thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Appreciate that. Is there any other business from the Township Committee at this time?
If I'm not mistaken, Sunday we have the safety seatbelt inspection
Yes.
over at Warnock.
At Warnock, yep.
Right.
From, I think it's from 10 to 2. The other thing I like to mention, and I like to thank Mr.
That's baby seats. That's
Yeah.
children's, if he said safety seatbelts, that's children's,
I
children.
think it's a really good thing that people with small children sometimes don't realize that these seatbelts are not really installed properly. I saw one from, on my own, so I believe those are very important. The other thing is, I did mention to Mr. Giorgio this evening, I want to say thank you. I got the Hanover Happenings, and if anybody gets that, it literally explains everything that's going on within the township. I think it was really great. I mean, that report really, I mean, there just isn't anything else you have to ask about what progress we're looking for and what the township is looking to move forward with. And the other thing, when I was speaking with Otto Preminger tonight, he mentioned to me about the EDAC meeting, which was very well attended. I thought it was a great meeting, and that it's on YouTube, youtube.com/HTWPNJ, correct?
We made the social networks.
Yes.
We're big time. We are big
Nice.
time.
So it's, the meeting, if you do get a chance to see it, it really was a great meeting, so, thank you.
And just note, Mr. Capola, the Hanover Happenings, we've printed copies for the Senior Citizens Club, which we'll distribute at their meeting next Wednesday. And most importantly, in order to save taxpayer money, that whole edition is on the website. It's
I think
available
it's
for
great.
everyone. Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, we're at this point with the newsletter where we've always mailed it out, and the administrator is quite correct. After examining, and certainly in these budgetary times, the cost of postage, the cost of mailing, cost of sorting and getting it out there, it's become very expensive. So I hope the public will forgive us for not getting a print material out every quarter, but it is posted on the web, and most of us who are comfortable, going online can find it there. We are still maintaining a certain amount of copies for the seniors.
For the seniors, and also in the Finance Department, Administration, Engineering will have copies available for any members of the public.
That's
In the library?
important.
Are they in the library
And the
too?
library, too.
Yeah, we'd still like to get a hard copy of that, and we will have that available for that. Any other comment, John?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the Environmental Commission, I'd like to present this plaque to Mr. Giorgio from the Growth Award from Tree City USA for the work Hanover Township has done in terms of promoting forestry, to include most recently the Arbor Day celebrations, where we participated in each school within the township, be it public, private, school. A total of 425 students participated in it. It was a great success. In addition, the Green Team, working with a nonprofit, Employment Horizons, for its third time now, staged an event for free paper shredding. And the good news is, this time, over 1 ton was shredded, mostly of confidential files, so as a service, and taking it out of the whole waste system, so it's very, very positive. Planning update, quick one there, is the ongoing ShopRite case, which originally was scheduled to be heard, because I know a number of people are interested in this, on May 15th has been postponed to May 22nd. May 22nd. Okay.
Very nice.
And as Mr. Coppola had mentioned, the Economic Development Advisory Council, it was a great success. Over 75 people participated, and what was really good about it is that we originally invited brokers to it, but we had brokers, we had developers, as well as corporations in attendance. Genuine interest in our community. They see the value in Hanover. It's a very well-managed community, the lucrative tax positioning, and strategically located. So it was a very good success, number of follow-ups. That concludes my report.
Mr.
Thank you, John.
Faramas, we also got front page on the regional on that whole story, so it was very nice. You did a nice job with it.
It, needless to say, it was a very, very successful Friday morning, this past Friday morning. This is the third event that the EDAC has put together for brokers, and it has grown every year since. I'm so happy with the outcome. It wasn't just for the benefit of us exchanging information to the brokers. It was for us listening to the brokers. We got a lot of excellent information back. We got a lot of comments back. We went over the use of an interactive site that we're going to have for EDAC that the brokers can go to. It'll make use of Google Maps. They can look at sites. They can investigate the sites from aerials. They can get all the specifications about the properties, et cetera, to help them along. And it'll identify the brokers involved to help them market the sites as well. So it's an aggressive program, and a lot of talented people contributed to it, and I thank them all, and Bob Nardone for all his hard work, and John, yours, et cetera. It's been a very, very successful event. Kenny, I didn't want to cut you off. If you have any comments to make, otherwise I wanted to just say one other thing that I was so very happy to see, and I was reading in the Star Ledger, something that maybe some of us have picked up on, and I was very happy to see that we're of all of the communities in the state of New Jersey, and Hanover Township was rated with number 10 as the best community to retire into.
9?
Wow.
So you're 9? 9?
Number 9.
Number 9.
Okay, that's better than 10.
You're stuck. I'm not leaving. That's it. You know. So I think that's great. I think that's certainly indicative of the low taxes that we've got, and there's no question, even in the rough times we're going through, that we're still able to maintain the level of services that we are. So I was very pleased to read that. But Kenny, I didn't want to cut you. If you had any comments.
Just one comment. I'd be remiss without a compliment for our DPW and our Parks Maintenance Division for the fine job they did getting our fields in order for opening day.
Wasn't that great?
And they're really looking good. I really think our parks and areas, especially the fields on opening day, they look great. And
you're right to compliment them. It was a super day. Punctuated by the good right arm of past Mayor Iannacone. He's still able to throw a pitch from the mound.
He threw quite a pitch too. He did.
Amazing.
He did great.
Amazing. But we had a great time that day, and yes, thanks to Public Works and thanks to the sports parents, everyone that put that together, was Recreation Department, et cetera, worked hard. Super time.
And now they're starting to get around to the township buildings, and you're going to see some mulch going around and some improvements. We'll start maybe see those spring flowers come out soon for Joe. I know he wants to see those.
It's looking good. It feels good too. I'd like to open the meeting to the public.
Mr. Mayor, I
I'm
just have
sorry.
a couple
Bob,
things
go
real
ahead.
quick, if I may.
Didn't mean to cut you off. You
I'll make it
certainly may.
quick. We are having another fun night tomorrow night, sponsored by Substance Awareness. That'll take place in the Rec Center from 6:30 to 9:30. Everybody on Substance Awareness doing a great job with those, but in particular, I want to thank Ace Gallagher, even though he's not here, for kind of spearheading the efforts, doing a tremendous job with those. Tomorrow night is open to fifth graders only, and not apparently, but we have about 106 that are registered already, so real nice turnout for that.
That's terrific.
Just for the fifth graders. The pool update, BMET decking is finished around the main pool. There's some new benches that have gone in. The new roof is almost done, even though we thought that might drag into the summer season. Unfortunately, they found some termites there that had to be abated. But the roof will be done prior to opening. The open house will take place on Friday the 25th, and then we will be open for swimming on May 26th. We do want to thank the engineering department for the job they did. We were kind of bumping up against the deadline. We were getting a little bit nervous, but it looks like we'll finish in plenty of time. And also the DPW for the work that they've done. Next item is the fishing contest is being resurrected. We did not have it last year, but it will take place on Sunday the 20th at Bee Meadow Pond from 1 till 3. We are also going to make an event out of stocking the fish. Our new superintendent of recreation had made that a big deal in her previous position with Mountain Lakes, and the kids apparently enjoy seeing the fish thrown in as much as they enjoy fishing them out. So we'll be publicizing that date, and we want to thank the Cedar Knolls Fire Department, the Whippany Fire Department, two separate entities at this point, and the American Legion for their generous contributions offsetting the cost of the fish. And then last thing from me, everybody's mentioned it, but I will say it once again, that EDAC meeting I thought was great. The people from Planning Board and EDAC did a tremendous job. I thought the event was just spectacular. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. We really do appreciate that, and that's great. And that's so much fun. The kids have such fun. And again, just to remind you, that's going to be Bee Meadow trout this year, right?
It's Bee Meadow only. And just as a footnote, we are holding it on Monday. Because it usually took place prior to Little League season opening up, because of all the activities and games taking place on Saturday, we felt that Sunday would be better. Next year, we'll try to do it in March prior to all the sports getting underway.
What time again, Bob?
1 till 3.
1 to 3.
And there will be prizes for biggest fish.
Just for the go for it,
I gotta
right?
tell you, between Malapartis Park and that, we gotta have some mighty big trout in there, because I know.
Can't get them all, right?
No, we haven't pulled out as much as we put in there, so they've been doing very, very well on that bottom feeding there, you know, so the kids can look forward to getting some real beauties out of there.
Absolutely.
That should be good. Terrific. Very good. All right, anything else from the committee? Hearing none. All right, like motion to open once again to the public.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the floor once again is open to the public. Anyone who would like to address the Township Committee may do so from the podium, giving us your name and address for the record. Seeing none, hearing none.
Move to be closed.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion for adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you, gentlemen.
Very good. You're right. If you know
Good
what you need,
Good
it's
job, Mr.
Right now,
Kaiser.
they're the owner.
75-foot lines.
Thank you.
Phase and that's what everybody.